Convicts can be heartless people, especially when they're in court for something as bad as, or even worse than murder. Today, we'll be looking at these cold-hearted people showing absolutely no remorse for the victims' loved ones in court. Starting things off with TJ Lane. He showed zero remorse on the day of his sentencing. This is what he wears on the day, but it's what he does after that is even worse.
Could you please introduce your table?
Thank you, Your Honor. To my left is Nicholas Burling, Geauga County Assistant Prosecutor, Mark Bartolotta, Geauga County Assistant Prosecutor, and from the Lake County Prosecutor's Office, Karen Colwell.
Thank you, and you can make it from where you sit. What? You can make it seated where you are, if you would.
One moment.
Take your time.
Saying pull the trigger that killed your son, masturbates to memory.
Next up, we have Keith Ferguson. He heartlessly murdered his wife and then proceeds to act like this in court.
I'm not getting into any detail of what happened.
If you want to be guilty, you have to say what you did.
I'm not saying all right? Because of the respect and the safety of my children, I'm not saying nothing because they're going to see this. They don't need to hear that. Understand what I'm saying? Let's just make this painless and not. Give me my 100 years or whatever and give me the out of here.
That's what I'm trying to do.
Okay, well do it. You understand me?
What you want.
I'm not doing this in front of these stupid cameras and these inbreds.
And did you intend to kill him?
No way.
And did you think about whether or not you wanted to kill him and make a deliberate choice to do so?
No way.
All right.
I'll put half a magazine in that. You can't give me the death penalty? I see y'all in hell.
I think that society has got what we needed out of it, and I have had multiple discussions with the family, and this is what they were looking for as well.
Coming up, we've got Scott Nelson. He murdered his wife too. This is what he had to say when the jury was questioning him. He showed no remorse whatsoever.
I was getting some really good visuals from Detective Wagner. She was, and I started, they were jerking me, so I gave it back to him. So a lot of that was just, just to amuse myself and watch her.
Unresponsive.
You were trying to make Detective Wagner squirm? Was that your goal?
Pretty much, yeah.
All right.
I mean,
aside from whatever tactics you were using on Detective Wagner, could you tell us if Jennifer Fulford had duct tape over her eyes as you walked her out to the field?
She did not.
So she could see where she was?
That's correct.
And she started screaming?
I can't remember.
Would you agree that she was terrified?
I mean, I'll be honest. I mean, ma'am, she has I don't know how many stab wounds on her body and stuff. And I'm going to look you in the eye and I'm going to tell you something. I don't remember doing all that.
All right. The pending question was, did she appear to you to be terrified?
I mean, I'm sure she wasn't happy.
Okay.
I mean, how?
Screaming?
No.
Begging you not to kill her?
No.
We now have a defendant that showed no remorse and blamed the victim for his own death. This is how that went down.
I apologize, like I said, for taking his life. And it wasn't over no video game. You right. It was because he came back to my house and tried to attack me.
On a scale of 1 to 10 for homicides, this is about a 15. Not only did the defendant murder a 15-year-old, when he gets a chance to make a statement to the court, he feigns remorse and then tries to blame the 15-year-old.
And with that, the judge gave Terrell the maximum.
He's going to serve a life means life sentence. I'm not allowing this defendant to ever petition for extended supervision.
Up next is Randall Moore. He murdered his wife for taking his son away from his abusiveness. This is what he had to say to his in-law during his court trial. The judge was quick to add his 2 cents too.
I'll tell you point blank, I have not 1 ounce of remorse for Teresa Ann's death. It could have all been prevented. All you had to do is let me see my kid. Now you're never going to see her again.
But then came the judge.
And I just can't believe what I've heard, but I am really glad you had your right of elocution and you could say everything that you said, because if anybody didn't know what a piece of work you were before you start talking, they know it now. And it's been said before and it can't be said enough. You're cowards. You truly are cowards. You prey on women, they give you their love, they give you their trust, and you betray that. You betray it by physically and or mentally abusing these women. And they stay with you. And you guys just can't understand why they leave such wonderful men like you. I've been doing this 31 years. I've never, ever seen anybody like you.
Now for a man who goes by the name of Bradley Yawn, he acted as if he did not care that he was in court. This is how he spoke to the judge.
This being filed in the coverage of the news this afternoon, as it always is. Also, Your Honor,
Hold on, your objection's noted for the record and overruled. I have nothing else to take up in your cases today, Mr. Yawn, so I'm going to remand you to custody sheriff.
Your Honor, I am my own attorney. I have some issues to take up with the court.
If you file a written motion, notify the state of those issues, and then we can schedule those for a hearing.
It seems like things don't get filed, Your Honor. The clerk just is not filing. That's one of my reasons. Things often do.
Mr. Yawn, you're remanded to the custody of the sheriff.
The clerk will start filing my stuff. The clerk will never file my stuff. That's why I'm sitting here trying to argue. Piece of shit.
Let's go.
He's done. I'm tired of this shit. Y'all just railroad the shit out of me.
No one can be as heartless as this convicted killer. Michael Swanson was seen smiling as he heard his verdict.
Follows verdict number 1. We find the defendant guilty of murder in the first degree, signed foreperson. In the District Court for Humboldt County, State of Iowa, plaintiff versus Michael Richard Swanson, defendant, number FECR 008863, verdict form, count 2. The jury has returned the following verdict. Verdict form number 1, we find the defendant guilty of robbery in the first degree, signed foreperson. Have I accurately portrayed your verdict, sir?
Yes.
And do the rest of you agree with that representation? Very well.
Next up, we have Louis Bracamontes. He is known as the cop killer. This is what he did when the jury was reading out his verdict.
Further find the allegation that the defendant used and intentionally and personally discharged a firearm, to wit, a 9mm handgun, and thereby approximately caused great bodily injury to be true. We further find the allegation that the defendant personally inflicted great bodily injury to be true. Dated February 9, 2018, signed foreperson, jury number 7.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, is that your true and correct verdict? So say you all.
Yes.
So say they all. Verdict
count 6. Regarding the charge in count 6 that on or about October 24, 2014, Luis Enriquez Monroy Bracamontes did unlawfully take a motor vehicle in the possession of Chantel Robinson by means of force and fear, we find the defendant guilty. We further find the allegation that the defendant personally used a firearm, to wit, a 9mm handgun, to be true.